श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 ओम नमो भगवते Vasudevaya.
Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 15, Text 29. Vasudevangri Anudhyana Anudhyana Paribramhita Ramhasa Mitaramhasa Bhaktya Nirma Tita Sesha Kasaya Dishanorjuna Vasudevangri Anudhyana Aparibramhitaram hasa Bhaktya Nirmatita Sesha Kasaya Dishanorjuna Vasudevangri Anudhyana Paribramhitaram hasa Bhaktya Nirmatita Sesha Kasaya Dishanorjuna
Vasudevangri Anudhyana
Vasudevangri Anudhyana Paribramhitaram hasa Bhaktya Nirmatita Sesha Kasaya Dishanorjuna
Vasudeva Angra Anudhyayana
Vasudevangri Anudhyana
Paribramhita Brahmasha
Paribramhitaram hasa
Bhaktya Nirmatita Sesha
Bhaktya Nirmatita Sesha
Kasya Dahisano Arjuna
Kasaya Dishanorjuna Vasudevangri Anudhyana Paribramhitaram hasa Bhaktya Nirmatita Sesha Kasaya Dishanorjuna Vasudeva Angri, the lotus feet of the Lord.
The lotus feet of the Lord.
Anudhyana,
Anudhyaya.
by constant remembrance.
By constant remembrance.
Paribramhita,
Paribramhita.
expanded.
Expanded.
Ramhasa,
Ramhasa.
with great velocity.
With great velocity.
Bhaktya,
Bhaktya.
in devotion.
In devotion.
Nirmatita,
Nirmata.
subsided.
Subsided.
Asesha,
Asesha.
unlimited.
Unlimited.
Kasaya,
Kasaya.
dint.
Dint.
Dhishana,
Dishana.
conception.
Conception.
Arjuna,
Arjuna.
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 Translation. Arjuna's constant remembrance of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna rapidly increased his devotion, and as a result, all the trash in his thoughts subsided.
Sweet.
Purport by his divine grace, Abhay Charanarinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki.
Yeah.
Material desires in the mind are the trash of material contamination. By such contamination, the living being is faced with so many compatible and incompatible things that discourage the very existence of spiritual identity. Birth after birth, the conditioned soul is entrapped with so many pleasing and displeasing elements, which are all false and temporary. They accumulate due to our reactions to material desires, but when we get in touch with the transcendental Lord in His variegated energies by devotional service, the naked forms of all material desires become manifest, and the intelligence of the living being is pacified in its true color. As soon as Arjuna turned his attention towards the instructions of the Lord as they are inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita, his true color of eternal association with the Lord became manifest, and thus he felt freed from all material contaminations. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuron Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Khadamahyam Tadhati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Shri Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Kanta Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Radhangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desitarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhaite Girim Yat Kripa Madhe Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramanandamadam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Arjuna's constant remembrance of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna rapidly increased his devotion, and as a result, all the trash in his thoughts subsided. I would like to seek the blessings of His Grace Narendra Krishna Prabhu, a Brajbasi who has come to Detroit with the mercy and the potency of Vrindavan. So I ask him to shower his blessings upon all of us, especially me, so I can do some justice to this opportunity. Thank you, Prabhu. I would like to offer my congratulations to Ajaya Srinivasa Prabhu, who was initiated just this past Saturday? Last Saturday by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj.
Today.
What is that, Prabhu?
Week ago today.
A week ago today in Atlanta. So he's now from AJ, he has become Ajaya Srinivas Prabhu.
Boss.
We wish you the very best, Prabhu,
Boss.
in your services to Sri Radha Kunja Bihari, to Guru Maharaj, and to Śrīla Prabhupāda in this great mission. Thank you very much. So today we are assembled to discuss further as we have been doing every day, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, in this chapter entitled, The Pandavas Retire Timely. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not a product of someone's research. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is transcendental knowledge that is passed down through generations, through bona fide disciplic succession from one spiritual master to another, and in this way we receive it. When Maitreya, he was speaking transcendental subject matters to Vidura, he said, I am not speaking as a result of anything that I have researched. What I am speaking, I have heard from great souls. Yet mati, yet shrutam. What I have heard from great souls, whatever I can remember of everything I have heard, I am speaking to you. This is how Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is transmitted. We hear and we simply repeat. There is no research. This is not a material subject that one can research and produce a thesis upon. This is transcendental subjects that we receive as is and give as is. In the early days of the movement, when our Divine Grace Śrīla Prabhupāda was translating and commenting on these books, he would refer to the commentaries of different acharyas for every verse. He would refer to the different commentaries from different acharyas, and then he would summarize those commentaries in a way that was suitable for the people of this age, and then he would speak into his dictaphone, and that got recorded into a machine, and that was then copied over into tapes to be sent to the transcribers who would transcribe it and then send it to the publishing house. So they had a system in place. So Satswarup Maharaj, who was at that time Śrīla Prabhupāda's personal servant, he would then collect all those tapes and hand it over to the next in charge for processing. At that time there was a young devotee who was there. So he told Satswarup Maharaj, you have many tapes, so while you're transcribing and processing some of those, let me have the other tapes so I can hear Śrīla Prabhupāda's commentary directly. So he would be hearing it. So Satswarup Maharaj gave him some tapes, and this devotee started hearing them. He was a new devotee. And then all of a sudden one day somebody called him in the temple and said, you need to give class today. Now this person was new, he didn't know the philosophy very well. He was only just hearing. So what was he going to do? He came up with an idea. He had those tapes that he was listening to. So he took those days I think we called it Walkman. And then he plugged in headphones. And then he wrapped a chadar around his head so nobody could see it.
Okay.
And then he took his spot on the Vyasasana.
Okay.
And under the chadar he had the Walkman.
Okay.
And then he would play and hear Śrīla Prabhupāda speak, and with his eyes closed then he would hit the pause button and repeat exactly what Śrīla Prabhupāda just spoke in his ear through that tape. And then he would hit the play button and hear Śrīla Prabhupāda speak on the tape in his earphone, and then he would pause and speak the line he just heard In this way, he was delivering class. And then he had his eyes closed and he was pausing in between. So people thought he's giving a very meditative class in deep absorption in Harikatha. In this way, he delivered the whole class. But this is our system. We don't add anything, we don't take anything out, we don't research. We hear and we simply repeat. To the degree we are honest and truthful in doing that, without adding our own misconceptions. Because in this very verse, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is saying, as a result, all the trash in his thoughts subsided. Our minds, because of material contamination, there are so many desires like waves in an ocean passing through every day, so many different desires. So if we were to add our own interpretation, then the message is spoiled. So if we hear and repeat as is, then the audience is benefited. So this person, he gave a class staying true to that principle. Just hear and repeat. And when we hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is not merely clocking in and clocking out. At work, in factories, people clock in and they clock out, because how long they have been there will determine how much they are paid. So hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not merely for that purpose. I've clocked in and clocked out. My job is done for the day. We must hear that message and see how it can be applied in our lives for our eternal benefit and for the satisfaction of Guru and Krishna. I was hearing a lecture this past week by my esteemed senior god brother, His Grace Gauranga Prabhu, who is the director at Govardhan Eco Village. And in that class he was narrating a humorous story of a man and his parrot, to illustrate this principle, how we must apply as we hear. So there was a Bhagavatam program going on in his city for several days. So this man would go every day to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Harikatha. Then he would hear and then come back and discuss what he heard that day with his family members. Now he had a parrot. This parrot was in the cage. So this parrot was also hearing everything that this man was discussing with his family. So this went on for several days. The man would go, hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and come back. And for the benefit of his family, he would discuss what he heard. So one day the parrot, he had also been hearing these conversations for so many days. His parrot spoke and asked him a question. I have a question. This man said, oh, you have been hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and now you have a question? Parrot said, yes. And he said, can you ask that speaker of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam how I can escape from this cage?
Okay.
So this man said, you want to escape from this cage? And you want me to ask the speaker of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? All right, I will ask him.
Okay.
Because he was very pleased. The parrot was talking and even asking a question after hearing so much of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So he figured he must himself be a good speaker, because he induced a parrot to ask a question. So the next day he went, and there was Bhagavat class. And at the end of Bhagavatam, this man, he said, sir, I have a question. And he said, I have a parrot at home who has been hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from me over the last few days. I hear you speak, and then I go home and discuss this with my family members, whatever you have spoken, and my parent has been hearing this for many days. So he wants to know now how he can escape from his cage. As soon as this man heard this question, he fell unconscious. The speaker of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, who had been speaking for so many days, as soon as he heard this question from this man about his parents' question, the speaker of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam fell unconscious. And immediately there was commotion. People assembled around him. The speaker of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, his servants were all very worried. They were very worried. What had happened to him? And then they splashed some water upon him. After a great effort, they revived him. And they gave him some water to drink. Now this man who asked this question, he was simply repeating his parents' question. He was wondering, what happened? Did I commit some great offense by asking such a question? Why did this man who was speaking Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for so many days, why did he fall unconscious? In this way, consumed by these thoughts, he returned home. And the parrot asked him, did you present my question to the speaker? And this man said, yes, I did. And to my great astonishment, soon as I asked him this question, he fell unconscious. So he told the parrot, maybe I'll present the question again tomorrow and see if I can get an answer. But the parrot said, don't worry, I have already got my answer.
Okay.
So this man retired for the evening with his family, and the next morning when he woke up and looked inside the cage, the parrot was lying there, apparently lifeless. This man was overcome by sadness. He saw his parrot was dead now. So he opened the cage. As soon as he opened the cage, the parrot sprang back to life and flew out.
Okay. Wow.
He's acting like as if it is very.
So this man was very aggrieved. His parrot had actually tricked him. So he went back to the program and heard Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and at the end he asked the speaker, what have you done? I simply went back and told my parrot what had happened here. And he did exactly as you did. And when I opened the cage, he flew away and found freedom. So the man told him, you had been coming here for so many days and hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Yet, when I feigned unconsciousness, you could not understand what I was trying to convey. But the parrot is so intelligent, he understood.
Here is a chance to go away.
Simply pretend to be unconscious, and when the cage is open, just fly away. So what you could not understand in 13 days of hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the parrot could understand. And he found his freedom. Wow. So if we want freedom from this material body in which we have been caged, we must understand Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Not merely sit in class just to clock in and clock out. We must understand. So Gauranga Prabhu, he was narrating the story to illustrate this very beautiful point. So Sukadev Goswami, as he was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, he said to Maharaj Parikshit that you are caged in this material body, trapped in this material body. And the key is with Krishna. There is a lock on this material body that needs to be opened. The key is with Krishna. I am simply an instrument of bringing the key to you. So who is delivering you? It is not me. It is Krishna who is delivering, but appearing through this transcendental sound vibration called Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. He unlocks the lock that is holding you a captive in this cage and releases you from this bondage of material existence. So when we hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam with faith, attentively, regularly, the effect is that we are released from this cage called the material body and find our eternal freedom, our eternal form. So that is why we are very grateful to our Acharya Śrīla Prabhupāda, who has given us this opportunity to hear on a regular basis and discover who we really are. In the Shikshastakam prayers, Lord Chaitanya has given this formula. What state of consciousness one should be in to be able to constantly chant the holy names. Trinadapi sunichena karorapi sahishnava amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. To be more humble than a blade of grass. One should be more tolerant than a tree and be willing to give respect to everyone while not expecting any respect in return. This is actually very difficult to do because we have ego, we have pride. It's very difficult. I speak from personal experience. I've tried this. It's very difficult to humble oneself, especially in the presence of those we consider inferior to ourselves. Very difficult. It's actually a miserable experience in the conditioned state of life. But why is Lord Chaitanya giving us such an instruction? Is it to make us feel miserable? Actually, the truth is that when we follow this principle, we find lasting, unlimited joy. This principle is given to make us feel happy at all times. It is not all meant to make us miserable. This principle is actually source of liberation. It can liberate us from all our misconceptions and allow us to experience ecstasy. I remember many years ago, His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu, a very reputed and senior disciple of His Holiness Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj. Yes, he was here. He gave class in Devasadan Mandir. Such a wonderful class that I still remember the title. The title really caught my attention. The title of the class was The Ecstasy of Insignificance. If we wish to experience transcendental ecstasy, it is not in being significant, it is in being insignificant. That is where the ecstasy is to be found. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives us this instruction, be more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree, giving all respect to everyone but not expecting anything in return, essentially is instructing us to take a very insignificant position. It is to allow us to experience ecstasy. So these great transcendental truths are described in detail in these books. Śrīla Prabhupāda spent countless hours, late nights, sleeping very little, making so many sacrifices just so we could benefit from these teachings. These books are so powerful that even one line in the book can change our lives. There are many such examples in this world. This is not simply a theoretical understanding. This is practical. There was one book distributor who was going around and distributing books. When he was approached by a man on the street, that man said, "I'm looking for the Coming Back book. Do you have Coming Back?" So the book distributor looked through his bag and he said, "Right now I don't have it, but I have this other book, The Teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. You can have this. You can buy this book." And the man said, No, check again. It's the Coming Back I'm looking for. And again this man checked and he said, "Sorry, I don't have the Coming Back. I can get it for you another time, but for now take this book." He said, No, it's that Coming Back I want. So this man asked, "What is it about coming back that you're so eager to buy that book?" So this man explained that the last time he met a book distributor, that book distributor showed him this Coming Back book. And this man was very clever. He asked for the price and the book distributor quoted a price. This man, he didn't want to pay that price. So he was haggling with the book distributor, and while he was doing so, he was actually reading some pages of the book. He thought, while I'm standing here and discussing, I might as well read some pages for free. And then eventually he didn't buy the book, but he said after he went home, some of the lines that he read in the book stayed with him and created such an impression that he decided to come back and buy that book. Just standing there and reading few lines from the book created such a deep impression in the man. He regretted not buying that book. So he came back looking for that book. This is the power in these books. There was one person who had been hearing about the power of silent meditation. So he decided to go to the library and read about silent meditation, the techniques and how to practice, so he could apply it to his life and perfect his life. It was a big library. He was searching and searching. After a long search, he finally found a book on the power of silent meditation. He started reading. He sat in the library and he read for about 3 or 4 hours. And most of the things he read made no sense to him. So finally, very frustrated, he put the book back on the shelf. He slammed it in frustration. And the impact caused another book to fall out right on his head and onto the floor. And when he picked it up, it was a book he wasn't familiar with. He simply opened it up to a random page. There was one line. On that very page, it said, "Silent meditation is bogus. It is not for this age." So for the age of Kali Yuga, silent meditation does not work. He was shocked because he had just spent 3 or 4 hours trying to understand the concepts of silent meditation, and here was a book out of thousands of books that would drop out of the shelf. And the page he turned to at random had a line in there telling him that silent meditation was bogus. This book was The Perfection of Yoga by Śrīla Prabhupāda. This is a true story. But he read that, he was shocked because he could relate to it. He had just read 3 to 4 hours and he could understand nothing. And here was a book confirming that silent meditation is bogus for this age. In one sentence, he was convinced. He read the whole book. He became a devotee and went on to become a top book distributor in ISKCON. So when we say these, even one line in this book can change one's life, it is not simply an attempt to glorify these books. It is the practical truth. Many people's lives have been changed just by reading few lines or even one line, as in the case of this person. We discussed two cases today. A man who read a few lines and could not get the coming back book out of his mind. And another person who read one line and was convinced about the truthfulness, authenticity of this book, the perfection of yoga by Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Yeah.
So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is so potent. If we have faith, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, even a single word of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam can make us Krishna conscious and deliver us. So this mood of being more humble than a blade of grass and being more tolerant than a tree, to the extent, to the degree we are determined to practice this principle, to that degree we can influence others to take shelter of Krishna. We see in the lives of great acharyas how they practiced this principle without compromise. There was a great acharya in South India by the name Parasara Bhattar. Even when he was very young, a boy of 5 years, he was very advanced in knowledge and devotion to the personality of God and Sri Rangam, Sri Ranganatha. One day a Digvijay Pandit, we have discussed this story in previous Bhagavatam classes, he came through the town and this man was very reputed. Everywhere he went, his servants carried him on a palanquin and they announced loudly, is there anybody in this town who has the courage to debate this Digvijay Pandit? And most people, even upon hearing this, they would back off because he was practically undefeatable. Some people tried and they were humiliated in the debate. So most people did not even try out of fear. So as his servants were carrying him through the city and people had flocked to see him, they were making loud proclamation, is there anybody here who has the courage? Proclaiming like this, they were walking through the streets of Sri Rangam. Parasara Bhattar, who happened to be in the crowd, he stepped forward and he said, yes, I have a question. And this man said, you are simply a little child. You should not be debating, just go play with your friends. But Parasara Bhattar said, your servants say there is no question you cannot answer. So I just want to ask you a question. Won't you answer my question? So this man, he had his servant stop the procession and he said, what is your question? So Parasara Bhattar, he bent down and picked up a handful of soil. And he said to the man, sir, I'm holding a handful of soil in my hand, a handful of sand. Can you tell me how many grains of sand are in my hand? The man was stunned. Nobody had asked him a question. And Parasara Bhattar said, your assistants just proclaimed through the streets of Sri Rangam, there is no question you cannot answer. Please answer my question. A hush descended on the crowd. Everyone turned towards the Digvijay Pandit. What was his answer going to be? The Digvijay Pandit, he hung his head in shame. For the first time somebody had asked him a question, he couldn't answer, he was stumped. He had no idea how many grains of sand were in his hand. And then Parasara Bhattar said, the purpose of all accomplishment, all knowledge, all education, whatever it is we have achieved in our lives, if they make us proud and arrogant, then the value of that knowledge is just as much as this grain, as this handful of soil I hold in my hand. Saying that, Parasara Bhattar threw that on the ground. So knowledge is meant to make us humble If knowledge makes us proud and arrogant, that knowledge is worth no more than the grains of sand that Parasara Bhatta was holding in his hand. This man, he got off his palanquin. He offered his obeisances to Parasara Bhatta, this 5-year-old boy, and he said, now you are my guru, my spiritual master. Now Parasara Bhatta, he had taught not only an important lesson, not only to the people assembled during that incident, but here we are hundreds of years later discussing that incident. So he taught an important lesson for generations of people to come about the value of humility and gratitude. But why was he so successful in passing this message on, not only during his lifetime, but the generations of people after him? It is because he practiced exactly as he preached. Śrīla Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj often say, we must walk the talk. It is easy to talk, but unless we walk the talk, in other words, preach what we are, practice what we are preaching, we will not be empowered to transform people's hearts. Parasara Bhatta, he went on to become a great Acharya himself with thousands of followers and disciples. One day, he was in the temple of Sri Ranganatha offering prayers to the deity. And he said to the Lord, my Lord, I have no devotion for you. And he wasn't just saying it, he was feeling that way. So a man in the audience who was very envious of Parasara Bhatta, he turned around and told the crowd, do you see this? I have been telling you. Now he is himself admitting he has no devotion. And then Parasara Bhatta said, my heart is filled with lust. This man said, see, he is admitting it now. His heart is full of lust, yet he's masquerading as a great Acharya. But look, he's admitting it himself. His heart is filled with lust. And then in this way, Parasara Bhatta was revealing many of the shortcomings. He was a pure devotee of Krishna. It was simply out of his humility that he felt that way. He had no shortcomings. But as he confessed to the Lord different shortcomings, this man was loudly proclaiming, look, he's a fallen, conditioned soul just like any of us. And then Parasara Bhatta, he said to the Lord, he submitted, my Lord, I've been praying for so many years in this way, but you never reciprocated and showered your mercy upon me, considering me a fallen, conditioned soul. But today, look, I have a witness. I have come with a witness. When this man, he saw Parasara Bhatta's extraordinary humility, there was no trace of pride. Now imagine ourselves in such a position. Now if somebody came and proclaimed before the deity of Kunja Bihari, before Kunja Bihari, that we are full of lust and greed, it may not affect us so much because we have no reputation to protect. We are insignificant people. But imagine if you had thousands of followers and you were famous all over the world. And you had hundreds, thousands of disciples. And somebody tried to slander us. What would our reaction be? Now we have a reputation to protect, yes? We might have objected. We might have at least justified, no, it's not like that. But Parasara Bhatta, he turned around and said, look, my Lord, here is my witness. Today, I have brought a witness with me. I am the most fallen. Here is my witness. Please shower your mercy upon me. Seeing Parasara Bhatta's profound humility, no trace of anger and pride, this man's heart melted. He transformed at that very spot. He paid his obeisances to Parasara Bhatta, begged for forgiveness, and he said, from today, I accept you as my spiritual master. So when we walk the talk, when we embody the very principles that are described in these scriptures, then we are empowered to transform people in ways we otherwise could never do. So as we read these books, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and in the association of devotees, as the heart transforms, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has that effect. If we hear regularly with faith and apply those principles, the heart will transform. And then we begin to see who we really are. Gopi Bhartur Padakamalyo, Dasa Dasa, servant of the servant of the servant of those who are engaged in Krishna's service. And just as Arjuna was able to do by constantly remembering Lord Sri Krishna, all the trash in his thoughts subsided. So right now our minds are acting the same way. Waves of desires coming and going and creating all this trash in our mind. But when we apply these principles gradually, as Arjuna was able to do, we are also able to overcome the effects of the three modes of material nature upon us and experience the ecstasy of loving devotional service to Krishna, which we are all longing for. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Are there any questions or comments, realizations, anything you would like to share?
Desiring to be like that parrot Prabhu. Get out of this vehicle.
Yes.
Don't run that tree. He took. But it just reminded me one real incident that I read. It happened in France. That one young lady was book distributing in a commuter train. So she walks into the one apartment and happened to hand out a book to one executive of some big company. And he was very bad temperament. He took the book and said, "What's this?" Tore up. Oh, Krishna threw it down and stamped. And then he pushed the girl off the train. She fell on the platform and dead. Now, his life story, that he had gone through some trouble, and his wife had some cancer and she passed away. He left. He took that book actually home and threw it on his dining table, left it there. Their servant seen the book and said, "Well, maybe he left it here to prepare it." She repaired it, to tape it, everything, and put back in his bookshelf. So he did not know what was happening there. The books was put back there. Then, when his wife passed away, and he was kind of a miserable condition, situation, mentally. There was nobody to talk, nobody to do anything. Then he somehow sees some book. What is that tapered book? He pulled it out. And he read that book. And that was Bhagavad Gita. And he felt sorry. He remembered the whole incident, that what he did to that girl. So, and then he found the address of the book that ISKCON center, So he went there looking for. somebody there, and I said that I want to book a book distributor. I want to become a book distributor. So the devotee invited him, come in, and I will have him. It looked like so much troublesome in the mind. So he got that, okay, we'll give you books to distribute. He ran into same girl accidentally and asked, and so he said, oh, please forgive me, I did this thing to you. No problem. Here's a tolerance. That the seed was thrown off the tree. And more tolerant than them is Krishna. He stepped on Krishna's book, right? Just Krishna tolerated the whole thing and he became a devotee. Okay. So he became a devotee afterwards.
Beautiful story.
Book distribution. This is one of the true story came, I read some days ago. There was how much tolerance could be. There is no limit. We can surpass Krishna. This tolerance is tolerating us. We must have done so many bad things. That is me. I hope, that he is tolerating me.
That is a beautiful story.
How tolerant it could be. There is no limit to be tolerant. We have to tolerate.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for that beautiful story and the conclusion. Such a beautiful conclusion. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Krishna is the most tolerant. If you tolerate me, then he is more tolerant.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So if we can think how Krishna is tolerant, then we can become tolerant more.
Okay.
Thinking that our master is tolerant.
Yes.
Someone has to be tolerant.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes, Prabhu.
And this class suddenly reminded me this story, so how Krishna is tolerant then. Because that person had such a great offense to step on the book, tore up the book and step on it. And Krishna forgave him. So he is tolerant.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Narendra Krishna Prabhu, for enlightening us with your transcendental wisdom and realizations. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai.